Logan Hildebrecht, 2nd Class Scout with Troop 72, located in Fairborn, Ohio, and sponsored by the First Presbyterian Church. We are here today to interview Colonel Barlow for an Eagle Scout project that is in association with the Fairborn Veterans Memorial Project and the Veterans Voices Project, located on the campus of Wright State University. Would you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. I am Cassie Barlow, and I retired from the United States Air Force with 26 years in 2014.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
What branch in the military did you serve in?
I served in the Air Force.
Wow. And where's this interview being conducted?
This interview is being conducted in my current office at the Southwestern Ohio Council for Higher Ed in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. Where and when were you born?
I was born in 1965 in Buffalo, New York.
Wow. I've heard that's a good place to live.
It is. It's fun, except for in the wintertime.
It's get really cold there, too. Yeah. Did you have any siblings, brothers, sisters that served in the military, and what branch?
So I had my father, who was in World War II. He served in the Army, and my sister also served in the Air Force, a few years of active duty, and then in the Air Force Reserve.
Oh, wow. So your family was a military family indeed.
A little bit.
Yeah. What were you doing before entering the military?
I was in college, so when I graduated from high school, I received a ROTC scholarship to go off to Georgetown University, and so that's what I did. I accepted the Air Force scholarship and went off to Georgetown in Washington, D.C. for a few years for college, and then went right into the Air Force.
Oh, wow. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I didn't do either. I went through the Reserve Officer Training Corps and went in as an officer.
Okay. Did you receive any specialized training?
I received a lot of specialized training. So first and foremost was the Reserve Officer Training Corps, which is leadership training and history of the Department of Defense. And then I went off to Information Management School before I joined, or when I first joined the Air Force. And then the Air Force sent me to multiple schools while I was in the Air Force. I went to Squadron Officer School and Air Command and Staff College, and then Industrial College in the Armed Forces. And the Air Force also sent me off for a PhD at Rice University in Houston.
Wow, that's a lot of specialized training. Did you serve during any time of war, and where did you serve?
Yeah, so I served during Operation Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and Iraqi Freedom, and most of the time I was stateside during that time, and then for part of Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom I was stationed in Germany and England.
And if you don't mind, for the viewing audience, can you please explain what those operations were?
Yeah, so Operation Desert Storm obviously was when Saddam Hussein went over the border, and so we were called in as a department to protect the people of Iraq and push him out. That was the first one, and then Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom was to continue to support the initiatives to become free societies in the Middle East.
Okay. Did you serve overseas, and do you have any memories of serving overseas?
Yeah, so I served in Germany for 2 years, and I served in England for 2 years, and they were both great experiences. My most memorable experience, I would say, was in March of 2011 when I was stationed in England, and my security forces were getting ready to deploy downrange and ended up getting to Frankfurt, and someone stepped on their bus and started shooting. So that was a very memorable occasion for not just myself, but for the entire wing and for two families who lost people that day. So that was one of my most memorable days of the 26 years in the Air Force.
Wow, that's just really sad. Did you serve on the front lines?
I did not serve on the front lines. I was always in a supportive role.
Would you tell us about any special friendships that you had in the Army? Any longtime friends?
Yeah. So I had a lot of really good friends that I developed over that 26 years, and many of whom are my best friends to this day. And you tend to, even through ROTC, I developed some very strong relationships, and you tend to develop those types of relationships when you have a really intense mission, and when you're doing things of importance to national security together. So that's how those friendships tend to get started, and then you have those memories over your entire life.
Wow. And how was your communication between your family during your service time in war and in the military?
Pretty good. Everywhere we went over that 26 years, and when we moved about every 2 years, everywhere we went, we always had great support of our families. Matter of fact, we wouldn't have been able to have the career that we had, and I say we because it was my husband and my daughter that were part of the team with me there, and we wouldn't have been able to do that without the great support of our families back in the States. And had lots of visitors from our families as well over the years.
Wow. What did you do for recreation during off-duty time?
Spend family time primarily, but also was very involved in different athletics as well. And then later in my career, I did a lot within the community as well. So that was my recreational time.
How were you welcomed home by family, friends, and the community after serving?
Very much so. Dayton, Ohio was the place that we decided to settle after retiring, and we were very much welcomed with open arms, and continue to be welcomed, many years later, continue to be welcomed with open arms. It just was it is a great community for veterans to settle.
Wow. Yes, definitely, I agree. How did you readjust to everyday life after returning from the military?
It wasn't. I mean, there was a little bit of time required to make that adjustment because it's a different life. Obviously, it's a different culture.
Yeah.
But it just takes time. It's something that you need to be patient with, and slowly adjust. And I would say that I probably will never 100% adjust after spending 26 years doing one thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to make that adjustment, but every day I think I get a little bit better at it.
Yeah. What were some life lessons that you learned in the military?
Yeah, so that's probably the best question so far. I would say that one of the several life lessons. One of them is that you don't do anything alone. That you always have a team with you. And the second one is that people deserve to be treated with respect.
Yes.
And that is, everyone deserves that. And then I also learned that if you take care of people, that they will take care of the mission. And you won't have to worry about the mission a day in your life if you take care of the people and enable all the people that work for you.
Okay. And the final question, what message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear and view this interview?
Right. I guess I would say that service service to our country is important, and that I would encourage young people to take time. It doesn't have to be 26 years. It can just be a few years, but take time to serve, because you see a different side of your society and a different side of your community when you do that. And I think that side is really important for everybody to see. So I just believe service is really important.
And do you feel like we have not discussed or anything that should be added to this interview?
I think we talked about just about everything.
Okay, well, thank you very much,
Thank
Colonel
you
Barlow.
too. Thank you very much.
And that's